I'm Matt.
And we are Shade Tree Chefs.
Bang. Boom.
Got him. Nice. All right. Welcome to this week's episode of Shade Tree Chefs. This week we are talking about queso. And forgive us, but this week's episode is kind of a hangover or a holdover from last week's Cinco de Mayo episode.
Yeah, I think it was one of those that, you kind of mentioned queso. We had one other idea kind of floating around, which we will get to at some point. And then it's like, it sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe it's like something that would have went well with what we did last week.
Right.
So we did it this week.
But we didn't. Yeah, it would have been too much.
I agree. We did quite a bit last week.
Yeah. Well, anyways, so I've done quesos in the past. Obviously, I'm sure you've done quesos in the past or something similar, right?
Not really like a queso, more like I've done like a beer cheese.
So a beer cheese dip.
Like a beer cheese dip.
Okay.
That's probably the closest.
So a couple years back, there was a trend on the Facebook groups, grilling groups, where people were making quesos directly on the grill, and that included throwing a bunch of cheese and peppers and all that, this, that, and the other into a aluminum pan and cooking that to temp. And I've done it, and I think you've had it by my house, maybe?
I believe so.
Okay. It's delicious, and it's easy. So this is a little take on that, and this is a little bit different than that. So I'm not going to talk about that too much other than like that one, those recipes you typically had peppers and things like that you would fire roast on the grill itself, cut that up, and put it back into the queso, into your cheese, and then cook that to temp. This one was more of we kind of did some of it indoors. We had chorizo where we cooked indoors. We could have done it outdoors.
Yeah, raining. I mean, not the best weather out. Rain, the big factor. I mean, we're used to used to it being in the 40s now, but
right. Now it's starting to get warm, but now it's rainy today. So by the time you hear this episode, it'll be sunny again. So
hopefully,
yeah.
I guess if it's not sunny when you're listening to this, pause and come back and listen to the rest when it is sunny.
Right. It would only make more sense.
That would make a lot of sense. So it was brought up, and we're kind of looking through some different recipes. And one thing I said early was no Velveeta. I don't like it. I'm not gonna. I don't want it. I'm not gonna like it.
Yeah, it's kind of a processed, yucky cheese.
Right.
If you like Velveeta, I apologize. He apologizes.
No, I don't apologize.
You don't apologize?
It's like,
okay,
no,
I'll apologize.
It's like wearing the same socks for about a month and running a marathon once a week. Right.
With those socks.
With those socks, and they're all sweaty, and you wring it out into whatever food it is you want to eat, and there it is. There's your Velveeta.
Ouch. That's gross.
You're right.
All right. Remind me not to eat Velveeta cheese.
Right. Maybe it's not that bad, but
it's not that bad.
I don't like it.
This week, this recipe is a culmination of two or more recipes.
Yeah.
We kind of just made it our own. Matt, you want to talk about which cheese you chose?
Yeah, so I said, hey, we're doing another Mexican-style dish, so let's go traditional. Like I said, most of the recipes I kind of skimmed over called for like a Velveeta or an American cheese, and then mozzarella, whatever it was. And I'm like, well, let's keep it traditional. So I started looking, and we ended up going with.
Can you say?
No, I forgot it already. Oaxaca,
yeah.
And then Chihuahua.
Yeah.
So we did a mixture of both. Most recipes I seen kind of had that mixture of a couple of cheeses. I mean, I even was looking, hey, what cheese melts good? Make sure we didn't deal with something that, it's like, this has been on the grill for half an hour and it's still a block.
Right.
So knowing what cheeses can melt definitely does help.
Mm-hmm.
So that was our base, right? The cheese itself. Got some chorizo. And then between the two recipes, we also got an onion.
Yep.
We did half an onion, a jalapeno, which we used half.
It was a white onion, right? Like
white onion.
Yellow.
Yeah.
One of those.
Yellow. It was a yellow onion.
Okay.
A jalapeno, we put about half in. We should have done the whole thing.
It seems like almost every recipe we do calls for yellow onion. I'm seeing a trend.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of stuff does. I mean, you look at a lot of bases for recipes, especially like sauces or something that has that sauce. You know, onion. I'm gonna forget the technical term, but like an onion and sometimes carrot, celery, or a combination of all three. Like a lot of Italian sauces will have that. I think they call it sofrito, which is the three of those, and then you add your tomato to it and go from there, and whatever else you decide to put in it.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we said onion, jalapeno, some white. No. Green onion.
Green onion. Yep.
Green onion. What else do we throw in there? Green chili.
Cumin.
So we just cumin. Called for like what we put. What did you end up throwing in there? Was it just a quarter teaspoon?
Yeah. It was a quarter teaspoon. Of
Quarter
cumin.
teaspoon.
Not a lot.
A
lot goes a long way.
Yeah. What else did we throw in there? Oh, tomato.
Tomato.
I had a Roma tomato. Cut that up.
Heavy whipping cream.
Heavy cream.
Yep.
Just kind of loosen it up. I did not.
And salt.
Some salt
To taste, yeah.
So we started off. We started off inside.
Yeah.
You kind of took care of it. We put the onion and jalapeno in the frying pan.
Yeah, I mean, you had everything all cut up, and that's what you were doing. You were separating all the onions and the vegetables themselves, getting those ready to go. And so I while you're doing that, I ended up taking your final product, put it in a pan of a dash of oil, of canola oil, got that a little warm, and then I threw the chorizo in there, cooked all three of them together.
Which it called for, in all it was like 9-10 ounces of chorizo that we used. I think I was a little over the 9. I might have been closer to 10, just for measurement's sake. And then the cheese, while we're there, I think we ended up using. Well, we had our pan.
I mean, you use a giant, like, how big of a pan was that?
That's probably half sheet.
Yeah.
I was gonna grab a cast iron. You're like, no, that's gonna be
a pain.
That's to clean.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right. So I grabbed that and we laid down 2 tablespoons of butter. Also,
butter, yeah.
So I put that in.
Salted or unsalted?
Unsalted.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't even buy salted butter anymore.
Ooh, nice.
Because if you're putting in a recipe, you're adding salt content to it.
Right.
So I just
that can affect the flavor quite a bit.
Right. I don't want over salted.
Right.
But I'll tend to go less on the salt because you can always add that later.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that like a bay leaf. You're not gonna like pour some soup. Like, you know what? We could use more bay leaf and just throw it in a bowl and kind of you don't need stew time for salt. It disintegrates or whatever you want to call it.
And
easy.
The thing with that, like salt, you can always add it, but you can never take it away.
That's true.
So,
well, I mean, there are ways of doing it, but you're adding a bunch of stuff.
But yeah, then you're affecting the recipe itself.
Yeah. So 2 tablespoons of butter. We threw it was a 1/3 cup of the whipping cream.
The whipping cream, yeah.
10 ounces of cheese,
mm-hmm.
which given, going kind of back, we were starting to say that, this big pan, and it's like we're barely covering the bottom, so just start dumping some more cheese in it. So we're probably closer to, let's see, if we're at 10, we're probably
15,
at a pound.
16
yeah,
ounces.
We're probably around, probably around the pound mark.
Yeah.
And then we just kind of let that go.
So chorizo, jalapeno, onion, all that stuff is, indoors. We're frying that up and getting that going. Meanwhile, you have the grill going outside. That thing's ready to go.
Yeah.
You use the whole basket of coals.
Yeah, I thought we were going to do everything outside, so I'm like,
that's my bad. Yeah.
Like, oh, well, let's just fry it in here.
I don't want to get wet. I'll melt. So
I'm not going to lie to you because, like, you were coming over here. It's kind of crappy out. So so it wasn't until you actually texted me saying, hey, fire up the grill. I'm on my way. Because I know we don't have tons of time today, right? We didn't have time to do a 3-hour cook.
Right.
I'm like, oh. So I ran outside real quick. I was actually, to kind of compliment, other than just doing the queso, when at the store, I picked up some tortillas, flour tortillas. Now, obviously, last week we made it from scratch. This week I just bought the store-bought just because I didn't have the time. Just cut it in 4s. Had some vegetable oil, warmed that up, and then I was making chips out of the tortillas. Just a little. I think they're better than most of the bag stuff.
Yeah, those are pretty good. So once we have our chorizo mixture squared away, we take it off the heat, put it off to the side. You tell the dogs, you say, "Don't touch this. We'll be right
Don't
back."
touch this.
And put it in the back burner so they can't reach the food. Go outside, bring our cheese out there, throw it on offset. I think the grill was how hot would
Like
you say?
400.
The grill was
I had calmed it down. It was probably about 425. I closed her up a little bit, and when we came back out after initial, it was around the 350, 375 ish in that range.
so we medium high heat, pretty good heat there.
I figured
And-
we're frying stuff, man. You
Yeah.
need some good heat for that.
Stop apologizing.
I'm not really apologizing. I'm kind of
Well,
blaming you.
stop
for
defending yourself. Oh, stop
Kinda
attacking me.
blaming
Okay.
you. I'm attacking you.
So yeah, I mean, we let our cheese go. We're like, all right, well, no reason to stand out here and watch cheese melt or paint dry.
Right.
And go back inside and we see the dog that's jumped up on the
Yeah, he's
countertop
trying to
anyways,
get
and
the
he's
scraps on the
eating the
cutting area.
or the cheese. And
The other
whatnot.
dog doesn't do that. He always likes doing that. It's like he never really gets anything.
Right. So that's mean.
Why?
You
I mean, he has gotten things, and I forgot what I was cooking one time. I was grilling, and then the wife says, "Hey, you should have let me know that you had this stuff sitting on the counter because he got some of it."
Yeah.
And I don't remember what meat it was, but I guess kudos to him for the effort because
Yeah.
most of the time he goes up there, there's nothing there for him.
Opportunistic
Yeah.
dog, yeah, for sure. I mean, so this is a real simple recipe, and unfortunately, it's everything's already done. So we go back out there on the hour, about 15 minutes later,
Yeah.
to go stir it.
To
And
just kind of check it, yeah.
the check out. I mean, it's all pretty much melted, but unfortunately, it's very thick. It's almost like a Play-Doh.
Right. It almost
Or,
like a dough.
Like a dough.
Like if you're making a bread dough.
Yeah.
It's like the cheese was melted but very clumpy. You could see because we had the tomatoes in there. What else did we put in there? Green onion. We put some of the green onion in there, and it's just it's like a dough. So we run in, grab the heavy cream, and add that to help
little bit
loosen
at a
it up.
time. Yeah.
And it helped a little bit. I mean, once you kind of mix it all together, then it loosened up. But I mean, we pretty much had cheese, milk, and tomato.
Yeah.
So I mean, we didn't have any real liquid in there to really do anything and help that case of loosening it up.
So, as often suggested, we're adding a little bit at a time, a little bit of the heavy whipping cream at a time to kind of thin this out.
Yeah.
Add it, stir it, add it, stir it. And you go back inside to do something else. I'm like, I don't know what you're doing. You come back out and you're like, all right, it's still thick.
Yeah.
So you open the top again. You start pouring, go, like pouring the rest of the dang.
Well, one thing I'd seen too is because I actually went in to get some lemon or lime juice. One thing I seen was like, if the cheese is like clumping together or stuff like that, add an acid, and that will help counteract that. So I just had those little it's like lemon or lime shaped, just that juice concentrate.
Yeah.
So I put a little bit of that, thinking, well, maybe this will help it from kind of just staying this big glob of melted cheese. And then I was like, I kind of mixed it in. It didn't really do much, so I'm like, I just grabbed the heavy cream and just dumped a bunch in
Dumped it, and then you were about to add more, and I'm like, I mean, this is supposed to be like a dip, not a soup.
Yeah.
So it got to a good consistency, and then we pulled it off. Shut our grill down, went back inside out of the rain, and the dog was on the countertop again, and get out of here.
He was pretty. He jumps on the counter, but then we sat down. We're kind of snacking away at this, and he's just kind of sitting there. I mean, he doesn't jump up on the table when we're trying to eat. Just that he's just that opportunist on the countertop.
He's a good boy. So yeah, the dog really wants to be a part of this, but no. The chorizo, he didn't get to that, so luckily. So we pour some of the cheese into. You had these really nice.
Yeah, like I use them more for like French onion soup.
Yeah, what do you call those?
I don't know the technical term for
not
it.
ramekins, but
I'd have
they're
to
like
Google
soup
it.
bowls, like little brown,
Right,
brown
that
soup
they're
bowls.
oven safe. That way, like for a French onion, when you melt the cheese, you put it in the broiler.
We're out in the garage right now. The dog's probably eating whatever we have
Nah, there's nothing. Nothing. He can only get to the edge. He's not that tall.
He's a little guy. Yeah.
So
We start to make this look real nice. Like, you pour the cheese into the bowl, and we start scooping some of that chorizo on there and make it look good. And then you still had some green onions cut up left over, and finalized that and made
kind
it
of as like a garnish,
make it look
crisp,
presentation wise. Yeah,
which looked nice.
Yeah,
we took a picture.
Yep.
And then we figured this is kind of thick, so we dumped it all in one pan and just mixed it all up. Yeah,
mix it all.
So
together.
we'll release that beautiful picture that we had.
It's picture perfect.
But yeah, we just and then by this point, because we did that, the cheese really wasn't hot. Like if I have a dip, it's supposed to be warm. I like it hot.
Yeah.
So we mix it all together. We just put it in the cheese mixture into the frying pan with the chorizo mixture.
Fire stove back up.
Fire back up. Kind of mix it up, and then we tasted it.
And you thought what?
I thought
it was
missing
good.
A little,
it was good, but
it was missing a little something. So I look. They're both like it's missing a little edge to it. So we grabbed. What was it? Chipotle powder. So I added a little bit of that. Didn't measure it, just kind of tipped it over, gave it a little shake, mixed it in. I thought that brought it more to life. Gave us a little bit of flavor contrast.
Yeah.
And then we just kind of settled it with that and ate.
And just filled 2 more of those bowls up and started going to town with the chips that you made, which were good. And I mean, overall, I'd say a 6 or a 7 out of 10 for this recipe.
Yeah, I think it's still missing.
Yeah, there's something missing from it. But
obviously we can go back to the cheese. The Mojito?
Oaxaca?
The Oaxaca cheese almost that's what would you put that was it like mozzarella-ish?
It's not very standout-ish, but it is.
And then the Chihuahua cheese, it's not bad, but I suppose maybe like a pepper jack or Colby Jack, which is another cheese that melts.
I think at the top of the episode I was talking about other recipes calling for like the actual fire roasted peppers and things like that. I think maybe if we took the time and if it wasn't raining out, we could have done it that way. Fire roasted the peppers and the jalapenos, and
that would have added that would have kicked it up a notch for us
for sure.
The other thing that we're talking about is like what else? It's like I thought the amount of tomato in there, like you could see it I thought that was pretty decent. But we had the canned green chili, which kind of got lost. And in all honesty, I think even the chorizo in that mixture kind of disappeared,
subdued. Yeah.
So I don't know if, but I think the consistency when it was all together was probably around where you want it. But maybe more chorizo. Another thought was like with that fire roasting. Once we got to that, would be like a poblano pepper, fire roasted poblano, because those are tasty.
Yeah,
more veg, I think.
Yeah, I think if we had done this more later in the season, we would have had the opportunity to have fresh poblano peppers or other peppers, like maybe hatch peppers or something like that we could have put on there. But
even like a farmer's market tomato instead of. We're sitting in March. Let's face it, tomatoes you get in the store aren't all that great.
It's May.
Or it is May. I said
March, May. It's same thing, right?
Yeah, they're close.
It's like the same thing.
It's close. I guess I just don't want summer to come.
Right.
Back
you like the cold weather.
Well, it's kind of it's kind of like March outside.
So I think version 2.0, do this later in the season. What I like to normally do, I like to grow my own vegetables, have like a little salsa garden, and just take from there and fire roast it, and that'll punch that up quite a bit. Add that flavor, that fire roasted flavor to it versus store bought and stuff, and
and probably find a different cheese combination. Like
experiment with cheese.
The mozzarella or kind of flavor was all right, and then the other one I think maybe go with like a 3 cheese blend.
Sure,
it gets a little different flavor profile just in that cheese, because I think that's really what covered up and our chorizo flavor.
Yeah, so I think in culmination, in retrospect, in totality here, I'd say delicious recipe. It could be taken a step further or two steps further.
And think about this too. We looked at two different recipes. Like you sent one, and then I found one. I sent it to you.
Yeah.
I was like, well, what do we want to do here? And I was like, well, I'm going to the store.
Get that Velveeta, buddy.
Right. Let's get those sweaty socks flavor in there.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm just going to buy everything that both of these call for. So we pretty much took these two recipes and threw everything together except choosing our own cheese.
Right.
So, I mean, I guess maybe if we use the cheese they called for, like the one recipe that didn't have the Velveeta, I don't remember what cheese it called for, but that was just one cheese that they had.
Yeah.
Where I believe the other one had the Velveeta or the American cheese,
white American cheese, and something else.
and then I don't remember what the other cheese was. Here, I actually have it up.
I'll fill time.
All right.
Yeah, so I think in hindsight here, we could do the changes that we mentioned already, but this is a really good recipe that we think is good for, say, game day, and I think you could swap out the chips too, maybe like a pull-apart bread, or what do you think?
Oh yeah, bread would
that'd
be
amazing.
Good.
Yeah.
It was Monterey Jack.
Jack, okay.
Monterey Jack, so American cheese and Monterey Jack.
Okay.
Which might have been all right. I was really looking because everything you read, it was like, hey, this is white cheeses, a cheddar. I've seen people say putting cheddar in there, but I'm like, I suppose find a white cheddar.
Yeah.
But I'm like, no, I wanted to keep it all Mexican cheese. And I don't know those. That was the first time I had the one.
Mm-hmm.
So trial by error.
Trial by fire.
Trial by fire.
Awesome. All right. So for this recipe and more, go to our website, shadetreechefs.com.
shadetreechefs.com.
We are also on social media, as always, Facebook,
Instagram,
all them.
All of them. You can email us. Well, actually, you can contact us through the website.
Yeah. And we've tested that before.
We've tested it.
We've tested it with random people, and it's
right.
It's really fast too to get back to people, and we get an email saying that so and so contacted you. I'm like, okay, cool, and you could type right back in the web form, and so it's instant,
and that doesn't even give a return email address.
No, you can come up with any name you want, and we've seen that.
Yeah. We have seen that. You guys had a little bit of fun. I caught on early though.
Yeah, I think we tried with what? Bushka?
Yeah. Busha. Yeah.
Or Busha. Awesome. But we're out there. And with that being said, I'm Jamie.
And I'm Matt.
And we are
Shade Tree Chefs.